Hi everyone, and welcome to this day 6 on Java sessions. So far what we have covered is setting up the Java basic programs on Java, object-oriented programming, that is classes, objects. Then we learn constructors, then we learn constructor overloading. We also covered this keyword, and then we started with inheritance. So from inheritance topic, we have covered the constructor calling sequence. Also, we have learned the use of super keyword. Okay, let's. There is one more topic that we learned in the last session, that is static and non-static members as well. So let's quickly revise static and non-static. So static members are associated with class. And how we access the static member? We access static members by writing the class name dot static member, something like this. So we write a class name and then we try to access a static member. The another type is instance. Okay, or you can also say it's non-static members. And how do we access non-static or the instance member is, first we create an object, let's say class obj is equal to new class. We call a constructor here, right? So the constructor call, and on that object we call instance member, something like this, So instance member are always called on an object, whereas static members are called on a class. Okay, let's cover one more thing from static. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project, say day 6, and we'll give name as static non-static second part. Alright, so this is the project I got created. Let me close unrelated projects. Alright, perfect. There I'm adding a class. Let's say main class. Alright, so I have a main class. In that main class I'm writing a main method. Alright, so as you know, right, main method is a static method. Let's say I wanted to write another method here. Let's say public say hi. This is taking a string parameter, or let's take it's taking a string parameter. Let's say name, and the job of this method is just to print hi and whatever is the name, hi, and then append the name here. Alright, so this is just a simple method. Can anyone tell me, is it a static or instance method? Is it a static or an instance method? Raj saying instance, Ashwini instance, Varsha instance. Okay, perfect. You are absolutely right. Yes, it is an instance method. Okay, thank you everyone. And to call this instance method in a static method, you cannot simply directly call this method here. Okay, like this, this is not valid because main is a static method and you cannot simply directly call another instance method in the main class. So yesterday we learned a rule, static members can only access the static members of the same class. Static members cannot access the other static members of the same class. Static members cannot access the instance member of the same class. So if I wanted to, allow this method to be called directly like this, so the quick fix is change that method to static. If I make that method as a static, so this static method can directly call this static method. Okay, this is clear, guys? So let me do that. All right. So I said public static void say hi. Now this method can be directly called in the main method, and this method itself is a static method. All right. Another example, let's say I have integer number equal to 10 and another static variable, static, let's say string, name equal to Vikas, and I want to directly print the value of no in main method. So SYSO control space enter, and I'm simply writing no. So again, this will give me error because this no is an instance member. Okay, it is not a static member, and I'm directly trying to access it into a static method. So this is not allowed, but you can access the other static member of the same class like this. All right. So I hope it is clear. The rule is clear. And in the last session, we also discussed why, why we cannot access the instance member. The reason is static methods or static members are directly accessed over a class name. We write class name dot static member, without creating any object. But instance member are those member which comes in a existence only if at the time of object creation. So you can use that variable only if the object is created for that variable, for that class. Then only you can use the instance member. Okay, so cannot use no here. All right, I will just add in a double quote. Perfect. All right, so this is what we have covered in the last session. Let's move ahead a little bit. All right. I'm creating a new package, guys. So far we have not created any package. So let me create a package also. Package, it is like a logical collection of your classes. In case of file system, right, we store the different files with respect to the folder, right? First we create a folder, and in that respective folder we save the file. So let's take example, you have a high level folder as a movies, and in that folder again you have different folders, let's say English, Hindi, Marathi, or Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, that way. And inside that folder again you keep different folders maybe, or maybe directly movie files, that way. So packages are similar like a folder that we use in day-to-day life. So packages, it's a logical collection of your classes, and if you don't have any package, it will be called as a default package. So now this is the first time I'm going to create a package. So let me create a new package. This is the way you can create a package. The package name is generally given something like this, let's say com.vikas. Now in this package, I wanted to give example 2. So let's say example 2 is my package name. I just said okay. To the left hand side you can see a package is there, but it is empty. It's an empty package. So let me create a class in that package, new class, and the class I will create, let's say I wanted to say again main method. Oh, sorry, main class, my bad. There I will just create a main method, public static void main. Perfect. So all right, what I will do is I will create one more class. Let's say student, or let's take some other example, maybe complex equation. Okay, complex equation. I will say finish. Can anyone tell me what are there are two parts in a complex equation? Right, there is a real number and there is an imaginary number. So for example, I'm declaring both the members in my class. So let's say double real, I will say double real number, and there will be an imaginary number. Let's consider that as imaginary number, and the equation is something it is written something like this. I will say that double a, and there is a multiplied number as well, let's say b. So the equation that we write generally is a plus bi. This is how that equation will look like. Perfect. So I have 3 instance members. Okay, you can actually define a constructor for initializing all these 3 values. Let's say a, b, and the value of imaginary number. Okay, that imaginary number has some fixed value. We don't actually parameterize it, so it's going to be a constant. So how to declare a constant? Float. Sorry, this is double number. I will be saying that this is a constant, right? I wanted to declare this I variable as a constant. So for constants, we use final keyword. Okay, final is the keyword which is used to declare a constant. So if you write final before any variable, that variable becomes a constant. Another programming standard is constants variable are always written in capital keys. So I'm going to write imaginary. Okay, and you can initialize some value here itself. In my case, I will just initialize 0.0. Okay, or just say 0.1 f, or double is also fine, d. Okay, so final double imaginary 0.1, or I would say 1.0 should be okay. Okay, just assume some value because we don't know what is the exactly value for imaginary number, but for now I am assuming that value. Okay, what is the error of this line? We need to have a closing bracket. Yeah, I will definitely do that, but actually the problem is this. Okay, so I have declared two parameters to my constructor, and I will say this dot a, that means the current objects a is equal to a local variable a. This dot the current objects b is equal to the value local variable value b. All right. Now let's say I wanted to print complex, or just simply say that print. This print method is going to be a public, and it's not going to return anything. The job of print method is only to print on the console. So complex equation. Okay, so I wanted to print this something like this, a plus bi. This is the format which I want to print. So I'm going to print the value of a, that is this dot a. Also you can write anything is fine because there is no duplicate variable, or there is no multiple variable with the same name. Then I want to print plus sign. Then I want to print the value of b, that is this dot b, plus I wanted to print just I. Okay, now this is going to print the complex number. Perfect. So what I will do next is, in main method I will create the object of complex equation. Let's say CE is equal to new complex equation. The value of a and b I will pass it 2 and 3. Fine, and just call complex equation dot print that we just now wrote. So print is an instance method that I'm calling in complex equation. let's say run as Java application. Perfect. So as you can see, that complex equation value is printed. That complex equation is printed. All right. Now what I will do is I wanted to perform something like this. Let's say I have equation 1, okay, and I wanted to perform E1 plus E2, that is equation 2, and I want to store that addition in as a third equation. So something like this, E3 is equal to E1 plus E2, something like this. Okay, but guys, for those who know C++ language, for them I'm telling you, in C++ language we have operator overloading. You might have heard about operator overloading concept, where you can actually use this plus operator on your any user defined class. But in Java do not have operator overloading feature. Okay, let me clear that first. So this is not possible to directly write E3 is equal to E1. Okay, so Java do not have operator overloading concept. Okay, I'm telling this for those who have background of C++ language and they know what is operator overloading. Okay, now in my case, what I wanted to do is I wanted to say something like this. So I have E1. Okay, I will print that variable later, and another complex equation is E2 with some value. Okay, and I wanted to create a third object, which is the addition of E1 and E2. So which will look something like this. Complex E3 is equal to E1 dot add, and there I will pass E2 object. Okay, something like this. So this is my E1. Okay, it's an object. On this object I'm calling a method add, and I'm passing E2 as like a guest object. E1 is my host. E1 is hosting add method, and E2 is going as a guest for add method. So this add method is supposed to perform E1.a plus E2.a and E1.b plus E2.b and store that additions into another object, that is actually E3, and return that object. So let me go and create this method. So I first wrote this method, and now using the Eclipse quick fix method to create it. So there is an option, you get a create add method, which is taking complex equation parameter in the type complex equation. So okay, that method got created automatically. Now what I will do is I will create a temporary variable, let's say tmp. Okay, but okay, this is just a declaration. Okay, I have declared a variable. I have not created object. This is just declaration. It is not the object creation. Object is only created when you call new keyword. Okay, next is I wanted to perform, let's say e addition, or let's say the real number is, or I will say a is equal to, I will simply say a is equal to, I'm going to say this dot a. So when I say this dot a, it means the a variable from the current object, and the current object, actually this method is called on p1 dot add, right? So this means p1, so you can consider this as a p1. So p1's a plus there is a e2, so not p1, sorry, it is e1 plus e2's a. So I'm actually doing the addition of these two numbers. This is not int, this should be double, and I'm storing this addition of e1 and e2 into a variable. Okay, let me do the same thing for variable b. Okay, I have a and b variable created. The next is I'm going to create an object tmp is equal to new complex equation. Now this was just a variable declaration, okay, object declaration, but now I'm actually creating the object with the addition values, okay, which is A and the B. Once that object is created, I'm supposed to return the object of complex equation. This is the return value. This method is supposed to return the complex equation at the end. So I'm going to return TMP. Perfect. All right. I think there is something wrong here. So let me find out what is this. The constructor double double is undefined. Let me check what is wrong. Oh, it is int. I'm not sure. I took double and then passing integer. Let me correct that constructor. Okay, I should have double everywhere. Perfect. All right. So let's go back here. Okay, and finally I will just print e3 dot. Oh, sorry. You should simply say dot e3 dot print, because that print method is having print system dot println. First, run this program. All right. So the answer, it is shown as 45. That is 43 plus 2 is 45 plus 9 and 12 is 9 and 3 is 12. This is the addition, you know, or the third complex number. Let me explain you again. We had two objects initially, E1 and E2. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually creating an add method. Okay. This add method is an instance method, so it will be called on E1. And I'm going to pass the E2 object as a guest to add method. So if you say, if you know, I mean, see, this is an add method, okay, and this add method is called on E1 host, whereas E2 is a guest. So inside E1 method, you can access the value of E1 as well E2. Inside this add method, you can access the values of E1 and values of E2. Now, how can you access it? Accessing is very easy. See, in who is my host? Host is E1, right? So E1 will be referred as this because it's an instance method. And who's my guest? So guest is E2, and that E2 will be going as a parameter. So whatever parameter name you are giving, like for example, I gave E2, I can simply make it E only, you know. It doesn't really matter, you know, you keep E2 or E, it doesn't really matter. So this add method having two objects. First object is this, it means the host object, you know, and which is the host object? Host object is the E1. So you can simplify this as like E1.A, but you can't simply write E1, right? If you wanted to access the current object, it means this word, and there is another guest object which is E. Perform the addition of A's and store it into a temporary variable. Perform the addition of B's of both the objects, storing into a B variable, and then creating final object which is complex equation and just returning the TMP object. Okay, fine. So I just took the values, I'm creating object and then simply returning that object. This returned object will go to E3, will go as a E3 object, and that E3 object I'm going to print it here. I hope it is clear now. Okay, guys, how many of you still having questions? Please reply. You know, I wanted to check how many people do not understand this, because I can't simply, you know, this. Okay, let me tell you one thing. This is a very small topic, and you know, you should not be stuck here. I hope, you know, I simplified it well, and everybody should be able to understand it. Okay, for those you know, if it is not clear, please go through this video again. You know, you will need more attention and focus. Fine. All right. Okay, I explained the same concept twice, and I think it should be clear to everybody now. So let's move ahead with the same concept. Okay, so we had an instance method. Okay, again I'm telling you the same thing. We had an instance method. This method takes one parameter of complex equation, and the same method is going to return the complex equation object. Okay, so we learn many type of method. For example, simply method, which doesn't return anything, which doesn't take any object. This is one example. Another method is, let's say this is a method which doesn't take any value as a parameter. This is input and this is the output. Other methods that we have learned is, let's say, return value and then method. Okay, so this method is only returning value, it is not taking input. Then you can say that void method input. So now this method is taking input values, but it is not returning anything. And you can also have a method which will take multiple inputs, like input 1, input 2, something like that. There could be other method which will return a value. Let's say return value method, return value method, input 1, input 2. All right, so the return value, there could be another method which will take multiple inputs as well, and which will return the value as well. And this return value could be anything. The return value could be primitive data type, primitive types, or the objects, class object, or it could be a class type. Okay. So what I will do is, so we learn, we have used this example. All right, let's discuss a little bit more on the same topic. So when you write complex equation, okay, I will say E3 is equal to E1. Okay, let's say there is a E1 object. Sorry, okay, I will write something like this. So E1, on E1 object, I'm calling a add method. So if inside that add, if I use this, it means a E1 object, because this means the current calling object that we already learned. So if you have not gone through the yesterday's video, please go back, watch the video again, and then come back to this session. You should be very clear about what is this now, what is this keyword and what is the use of it. So this keyword, it means the current calling object. So you can use this keyword inside the add method, and that add, if you use this keyword inside the add method, it will be actually referring to E1 object. Okay, now I have values of E1, but for doing an addition, you should require two objects, right? You should have two values to perform addition. So one is there, that is E1, and the second object I wanted to pass is E2, right? So I'm giving E2 object as a guest to that method. Okay, and this method will actually perform, addition of this and E2. Okay, the addition of this dot A and E2's object. I can refer that E2 object as E as well. Okay, perform this addition, store that addition into a temporary variable, let's say A. Similarly, I will have a B variable. There will be A and B, which will store the addition of this object, this dot A and the E dot A for A. For B, it is this dot B plus E dot B. So, I have A and B variable. Now it is time to create the object using this A and B. So let's create an object. Let's say new, because this method has to return object of complex number, the third number which is generated. So let's create a third object, complex equation, and which is going to take A, B parameters to the constructor. So this is a constructor calling, and this line will give me an object, So I will simply write something like this: object is equal to, and the last line of this add method is going to return, obj. This will be the last line. Okay, so as this method is returning something, you should collect it. So let me collect that value, complex equation E3. Okay, I'm saying that E3 is equal to E1 dot add E2, sorry. So I hope, okay, I explained it again third time. I hope this is clear now. So finally, I'm just printing the I'm just calling a method, instance method E3.print. Okay, E3.print. Guys, let's discuss. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer your queries. Okay, so I was saying, yeah, this is an instance method, and this method is called with object name dot method, and another object is passed to this method. Now let's say I wanted to do the same kind of operation, same operation I wanted to do with a static method. So I'm going to write public, okay, static. The return type of that method is complex equation. Okay, the method I want to write is add. The same method name I am going to give the complex equation. Okay guys, now tell me how many parameters I should write here if this method is static. Please answer this question. How many parameters will be there? All means how much? 1, 2, 3, 10, 15. How many parameters should be there if I'm writing this method as a static? Perfect. So I think everybody got the concept right. So if it is a static method, we will be calling this static method on class name dot method name. So when we say class name dot method name, that means I don't have this object, I can't use this keyword inside a static method. So for that reason, I should have two parameters here. So complex equation E1 and complex equation E2. Perfect. So I'm writing, okay, now I have E1 and E2 as well. Okay guys, it's not really a necessary that you should give E1 and E2 name only. You may want to change the other name, let's say object 1 and object 2, like that, but E1 and E2 is like more readable, so I'm just keeping E1 and E2. So I wanted to do addition of E1 dot A plus E2 dot A. Okay, this addition will be stored into double A variable. So I'm creating a local variable. This is a local variable A, and this variable is going to store the addition of E1 and E2's A. Double B is equal to E1 dot A plus E2 dot B. Oh, my bad, I mistakenly written E. So I have addition of A from both the objects, I have addition of B from both the objects, and now what I will do is I will just create a third object, that is complex equation. I'm creating actually a third temporary object, a temporary object which I want to return, because this add method must be returning a complex equation that I have defined as a return data type. So I'm creating object is equal to new, the constructor call, and to that constructor let's pass the value of A, value of B, and get that object created. And at the end, simply say that return obj, because this is what that method is supposed to do. That method is supposed to return the object of complex equation at the end. You can simplify this line, okay? So I'm just going to reduce or simplify this code. Instead of creating object and then returning, you simply say that return new complex equation A comma B. So by adding this line, return new complex equation A comma B, this will create a temporary object, and that object will be returned. That object may not be having any name at this moment, Okay. Again, I can actually simplify the code. Let's cut this code. Okay, and replace at the position of A. Okay, I'm just reducing the number of lines. So the first parameter I'm giving is e1 dot a plus e2 dot a. Similarly for b variable. Perfect. So it's always good to write the minimum line of a code, okay, if you can. So this is the simplest implementation for the add method, and this is a static method which takes objects as a parameter because we do not call this method on an object. So how do we call this method? Let's go to the main class and see the example. So we had, e3 is equal to e1 plus add e2. Now what I will do is I will create a fourth object, that is e4 is equal to, sorry, I wanted to call that add method, but it is a static method, and static methods are called on a class name. So the class name is complex equation dot, you see that static method, right? This S stands for static. So I'm going to say add e1 comma e2. Okay, so let's say that e4 dot print, and I will just comment, or I wanted to add some system.println. Sorry, so control space, enter. Values of e4 is, okay, and then we'll print the value of e4. Let's run it. All right, so you see that value of e4 is again the same answer, 45.0 plus 12.0 I. I hope it is clear now. I wanted to tell you the difference between calling an instance method and calling a static method. Perfect. So please answer my question. Can we use this keyword inside a static method? Just answer in as yes or no. Okay, very good. So we can't use this keyword because this keyword represents the instance, represents the current calling object. But for a static method, we call it on a class, we don't call it on an object. Now, another question is, can I call the instance, sorry, can I call the static method on an instance? Okay, everybody know that a static method is called as a class name dot method name. But what will happen if I try to call a static method on a class name? Sorry, static method on an object, guys. Any guesses? Any guesses, guys? I didn't get that. What is CTE, Srinivas? Compile time error. Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay, fine. So let's give a try. Instead of discussing, let's see. I see a mixed kind of response. So let's do it. We had an add method. It's a static method, and I will try to call that add method on an object. Okay. So I will say I already had add method, but it is taking one parameter. You have to give two parameters. So I will say e1 comma e2. So this way, it will call the static method. And what is happening, guys? What is this? What is this yellow marker? Is it error or is it warning? Yeah, it is warning. So what you see here, it's a warning, and the warning says that we are calling a static method as an object, on object, but you should be calling a static method in a static way. In a static way, it means simply class name dot static name. But this program works, you can call a static method on object, but it is not recommended. Okay, always remember this point. It is not recommended. This is not a good programming practice. If it is a static, always go with a static approach, and this is my static approach. I will just change that method to static. Okay, fine. Is it clear? If this is clear, guys, please reply. Thanks, Avinash. Thanks, Harshal. Thanks, Nayan, Srinivas, Raj, Varsha. Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's move on to the next topic. The complex equation is done, but we have learned one more concept. Do you see there are two methods with the same name in the same class? There are two methods with the same name in a same class. What is this concept? We already learned in our previous tutorial, while talking about the constructors. So there are two methods with the same name in a same class, but with a different parameters. So this is only taking one parameter and this is actually taking two parameter. Yes, everyone is right. So the answer is function overloading, or you can say that method overloading. Okay, in Java we call as a method. So yeah, function overloading, method overloading is the answer, and we have already covered that topic, but still this is just another example. Okay, thank you guys for your response. Vaishali, Vishwajit, Vinuta. Okay, let's move ahead. I hope the static and non-static is clear. There is a question from Vishwajit. Is there any concept called method overriding in Java? Yes, Vishwajit, there is a concept called method overriding. I will be covering that concept shortly. Okay, fine. So this was something which was pending from the static and non-static. So I'm going to close this project now, and let's go and create a new project. Oops. I'm going to create a project. Okay. Someone asked me the difference between project and Java project. So if I say project, do you get anything here? In general, there is a project, but it just simply create a normal project. A normal project, it means just a folder. It doesn't have any predefined structure or anything. But project Java has a predefined structure. Oh, sorry, I want project Java, and this has a predefined structure. It contains that SRC where you can actually write the source code. So let's give a project name as D6. My next topic is method overriding. Okay, fine. So in method overriding, I'm going to create a class. Let's say I wanted to have a class, let's say fruit. Okay, and let's create that into a package. So the package name for fruit is, let's say, organic. Okay, and the class name is fruit. So I will say finish. You can see that organic package is created and it is having a fruit as a class. In the same package, I will create another class as mango, okay, which extends, which is again in the same package, okay, and I want a mango class to extends fruit, sorry, okay, fine. So this is another just a simple example of inheritance. Okay, let's say a fruit has a color string color. A fruit has test, okay, and for a mango it will again have some properties. I don't recall exact properties for mango. Mm, but instead of writing some data members, I think all the data members are covered in a fruit itself. But in mango class, I will write a method make milk make milkshake. Okay, this will return void. I don't want to return anything. And if you want, optionally, you can make this method as a public, so it will be called from anywhere. Okay. I want to just have some simple line. Yummy mango shake. Okay. Just a simple word. And in a fruit, for fruit also, you can actually create a milkshake, right? So I'm also writing the same kind of a method, void. What was the method name? Make milkshake. I will just copy that code. Make milkshake. Okay. It's fruit shake. It's fruit shake actually it should be. All right, so fine. So we have a class fruit and a mango. Okay. So fruit is having color and test. If you have a mango constructor, you can actually initialize that color and test here. So let's say this dot color is equal to yellow and this dot test equal to sweet. Oops, it has to be in a string because double quotes, it's a string, right? Okay. So if I'm just generically saying a fruit, still also you can give some a color, but I would like to keep it as null only. Fine. Now what I will do is I'm creating a main class. Okay. Main. Let's create object of mango. Let's say m is equal to new mango, and on that mango I'm calling make milkshake. Okay, guys, tell me which method will receive call. Okay, yep, everyone is right. Not super Shivendra, it's going to call the make milkshake method from the mango class. Okay, let me run this code and show you the output. Can you see that yummy mango shake is printed? Okay, because this line is printed into make milkshake in the mangoes class. Okay, now what I will do is, let's say I'm creating object of fruit. Okay, let's say f is equal to new. Oops, sorry for typo. New fruit, and okay, the lowercase variable should starts with the lowercase. Okay, so f dot make milkshake. Okay, and this line will actually called from fruit class. Okay, fine. So you can see that this line is actually getting called from fruit class. Now you have to answer few queries. What will happen if I comment this line? Okay, if I comment this method, what is going to happen if I comment this method make milkshake from mango class? Please answer this question on chat window. Just a random guess is fine. What will happen? Will it give me error? Or what will happen? My question is, what will happen if I comment this lines make milkshake from mango class, and I will run this program again, but this method is commented from mango class, and I will run this code. What will happen? Okay, very good. So some of you already answered this question correctly. So let's go back and comment out this method. If I'm commenting this method, okay, and coming back, still I will not be getting error on this line, because in mango class there is still a method make milkshake, and this method is actually coming from, as you can see, that full name is, this method is actually coming from class fruit. The reason is fruit class is a parent of mango. So let me run this code and see the outcome. Both the time it will call the fruit class method. It's a fruit shake, it's a fruit shake. Okay, for both this make milkshake method, it is going to call it's a fruit shake. But specifically for a mango, I do not want that method which is coming from a parent class. I don't want that method which is by default coming from a parent class into my derived class. I don't want that method to be here. So oops, sorry, it is in fruit. Oh, okay. I don't want that method which is coming from a fruit class into the mango. So what I will do is I will simply create this another method with the same name, same parameters. Okay, with the same name, same parameters in the derived class. So this is my derived class. I'm writing the same method, same parameter in derived class. So what it will do, this will be overriding the method coming from the base class. Base class means the parent class. Okay. If you don't write it, automatically make milkshake method will come from a fruit. But let's say if you don't want that method to come from a parent class, so we will write our own method with the same method name. Okay. Same method name and same parameters. Okay, these are the two things must be same. There is a rule about access specifier, but I think we will cover that other day. All right, so this concept is method overriding. Okay, now there are actually in interview there are two questions asked most of the time. So the questions are difference between method loading and overriding. Okay, so method overloading, it means same method name with a different parameter, and method overriding, it means same method name with the same parameter, exactly same parameter. Okay, method overloading can be done in the same class as well, or you can do in inheritance also, but overriding can only happen at inheritance. Overriding can be done at inheritance as well as in the same class only without inheritance, but for overriding we need to have inheritance there. Okay, so overriding the method, the definition of overriding, it means the method which is coming from a base class, we are overriding that method in a derived class by writing the same method name and same parameter again into derived class. So the derived class method overrides the method coming from a parent class. This is the meaning of overriding. Okay, do you have any questions on overriding, or is it clear? Okay, perfect. Thank you for reply. So let's move on to the next topic. So we have learned overriding. Okay, there is next question is, okay, can I call okay, my question is, can I call overridden method in a child class? Means the method which is already overridden, that method I want to call in my derived class, in my child class or a derived class. So do you know how I can do that? Okay, there is a question from Prajakta, I think. In overriding, the body of method will change. Prajakta, it depends on you what you want to do in that method. You can write any code after overriding. For example, in my previous exam, the method which is there in the parent class is printing fruit milkshake, but in fruit, it is printing yummy mango shake. So it's up to you. You can write any code in overridden method. I hope I answered your query, Prajakta. Okay. So I asked a question, can I call overridden method in a child class? Some people say yes. By creating object, we can call method. No. Overriding will have return type. Overriding will have return type. I didn't get that question. Okay. Vikas. So if overriding concept comes into picture only in inheritance subject. Yes, Vaishali, you are absolutely right. Overriding only comes in a picture when there is an inheritance. Let's say if you don't have inheritance, overriding doesn't come in a picture. Okay, Vishwajit said the right answer. Yes, we can call the base class overridden method using a super keyword. Okay, let me tell you how to do that. Let's say, I'm printing calling method from base class. So for that we use a super keyword again. So super dot, just say, you can use any base class variable or a method by saying super dot. So I'm saying super dot make milkshake, and make milkshake, this line will actually print it's fruit shake. So yes, it is possible to call the overridden method in a derived class. Again, I'm saying in a derived class using super keyword. So there are two uses of a super keyword. The first use of super keyword is to call the derived class constructor. So for example, even though if I'm not writing that super here, JVM will be automatically calling the default constructor of my parent class super. JVM will automatically add here. So this super line is going to call the default constructor of my parent class, whereas the same super keyword I'm using as like object. So super dot method name. So this is going to call the method from base class. Let me run the code. I will just comment this code. Okay. Fine. So yummy mango shake is printed first. As you can see, this line is printed first. Now then I printed calling method from the base class, and again I'm saying super dot make milkshake, the same method name. So as I said super, so this method will be called from the base class. If you'd say this dot make milkshake, then again the same method will be called. So make milkshake will call itself. This will keep on going. It is like a recursion, and it's infinite recursion. So if you say super, that means I'm calling a method from the base class. So there is a question from Avinash. Super open bracket close bracket only used in constructor. Yes, Avinash, you are absolutely right. Super open bracket close bracket only used in a constructor. Yep. And I forgot to tell you one more rule on a constructor. So if you are calling a constructor using a super keyword, it has to be the first line of your derived class constructor. Okay. If I'm writing the super constructor call as a second line, third line, then it will give me error saying that the constructor call must be the first statement in a constructor. Okay. This is a rule because in the last session we already learned how the constructor calling sequence in case of inheritance. So the parent constructor called first the derived before the derived class constructor, right? So that is the reason this has to be the first line in your constructor. Okay, I missed that topic yesterday, so I just quickly covered now. There is a question from Chandrasekhar. Return type should be same or not in overriding. For a return type, it doesn't really matter. We don't consider return type in method overriding as well as overloading also. So we do not compare what is the written type of the method. We only look for the method name and the parameters. You can keep any return type for overriding as well as overloading. It doesn't really play any role here. Okay, that's perfect. One more thing, from Java, it is always good if you're writing, if you're overriding, if you're overriding a method, oops, okay, if you're overriding a method, make habit of writing annotation as @override. Okay, so if you write @override before that method, it tells the developer or the person whoever is going to read this code that the below method is actually going to override the method coming from a base class. Okay, this is only for readability purpose. If you write it, then it becomes very easy to read the code and to understand, okay, there is already a method in a base class and this class is actually overriding it. Okay, the another advantage of writing the @override is, let's say from a base class I'm removing that method. Okay, I removed that method from a base class, so it will not automatically come in a derived class, so you won't be able to override it. But I am saying, this method is overriding, but the thing is there is no base class method, with the same method name and same parameter. So it will give me error, so that I will get to know that, oh, I forgot to write that method in a base class or something. I can correct that mistake and come back. Okay, so it's always good practice to write @override before the method. All right, I hope this is clear to everyone. And we have covered today the super keyword, where to call a super keyword. It should be the first line. We covered static and non-static, how to create this static non-static method and the difference between how to call this static and non-static method. Then we covered the method overriding and how method overriding and overloading is different. Guys, you can have method overriding and overloading at the same time. Okay, now for example, make milkshake. Okay, this is a method. You can write the same method. Okay, let's say public void make milk shake. Now it's taking int quantity. Now this example, it is overloading. Yes, Prajakta. @statement will be like a comment and for readability, but it also has some meaning. It is known as annotations. We will learn more on annotations when we actually learn Selenium WebDriver. Okay, so this example is overloading. You can have overloading in your parent class also. Okay. So for there, for this method, there will be an overloaded method. So if I say, let's say this dot, you will see two methods are there. One is make milkshake with no parameter. There is another method which is coming from a fruit class. Okay, and these two methods are overloaded, not overridden. Okay, I wanted to just tell you that. Sometimes we also use the overloading and overriding combined together in one example only, in the same class as well. So let me delete that code. Hope it is clear to you. I think that's all for today. We can have a question and answer session now. Thank you for attending, guys. And tomorrow in the next session, we will continue with some new topic. Thanks everyone for attending. Let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer.